Wonderful, a very warm welcome to the February session of Once Upon a Leader, Timeless Stories, Modern Leadership Choices. This is a series we've initiated just last month. And it's a space where we slow down for a moment and think differently about leadership, not through frameworks, textbooks. So we will not have a pack of slides that we will walk through, but through stories that have stayed with us, that have evolved, that now hold a meaning for us in our lives. Because we all know the truth is that great leadership isn't learned only through slides and frameworks and theories. It is shaped through moments that challenge us to think differently, the choices that we wrestle with, the stories that quietly influence how we think and we act and we decide and lead our lives. So the idea of this series is to draw from mythology, history, modern workplace, where I just pick up a story and talk through it, the dilemmas that the leaders face, the power, ethics, influence, courage, whatever is available in that story, we'll be discussing those. And for today, we're going to be picking up the story of Eklavya and Dronacharya. This is the second one in this series. And when I was reading about the various versions, it is powerful and very uncomfortable to read. We will go through this discomfort, but before we get started, I'm going to hand it over to Asavri to talk to us about what else is in store from Grow with Satori.
Thank you, ma'am. So before we dive into today's session and see what is the relevance that Dwapar Yuga is bringing to Kali Yuga, I'd quickly like take you all through the offerings that we have at GWS, our upcoming sessions. The month of March is just around the corner, which means International Women's Day is just around the corner. And I would like to quickly take you through what we are offering to mark that occasion. We have curated 3 distinct learning initiatives for organizations this time. Our first offering is the Inner and Outer Architecture of Women in Leadership. This is a 2-day experiential workshop which focuses on strengthening leadership capabilities. We can customize the programs as per your organization's needs. Our second offering is the 6 individual learning sessions, intentional leadership conversations. This is for organizations that are seeking flexibility. So here we are offering standalone 2-hour facilitator-led sessions. Here you can choose the workshops that you want to be a part of, the mode of the sessions, be it online or offline. And the third in the pipeline is the gift of growth. This is our structured 3-month coaching journey, which is powered by certified volunteer coaches at low bono prices. And this initiative is open both for men and women. But currently, we would encourage and appreciate women to register for this session. And if you're interested to know more about this, I will quickly post the link in the chat right away. There you go. We also have some other sessions and workshops that are in the pipeline. Leading Without Exhaustion is a 2-hour experiential workshop, which is being anchored by Mr. Krishna Prakash. Rooted in Indic wisdom, this workshop is designed to help leaders reduce inner friction while maintaining high responsibility. This workshop will enable participants to untangle identity from role, make clearer decisions, and lead with steadiness rather than stress. This session is planned for March 18th between 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. And I will also share the link for this session in case you're interested in registering. We also have something planned for our LIY Leader Renew community. This month, on 20th March, we are bringing to you a workshop on setting boundaries and work-life balance through graphology by graphologist Tejaswini. And yes, last but not the least, this session on Once Upon a Leader is the second in the series. We have also planned the third one, where we turn to the Greek myth of Sisyphus, which will help us reframe endurance not as a burnout, but as intentional leadership. Now, this session is slated for March 25th from 11 to 1. And I'll also share the link of this session. Well, we are very excited about these offerings and the opportunity that they create for meaningful growth and leadership development for all of us. Please take some time, have a look, and register on the links that have been shared. And now let's turn our attention back to today's session. Shanti ma'am, over to you now.
Thank you so much, Asabri. Lovely lineup, and I see lots of different kinds of programs we'd be offering. Before we get started, I think a lesson learned from my last session that we did was that please think of these sessions um, as not to scrutinize the characters, but to we are critiquing their choices. Yeah, so it's not about what Dronacharya did, was it right or wrong? What Eklavya did, is it right or wrong? Let's try and use the language of the choice. You agree or you do not agree. Yeah, so use an I language as you're critiquing. We all know there are multiple versions, so let's listen with a little bit of discomfort and not defensiveness, knowing that we are working with a version of the story. Yeah, and with that, we get started. I'm going to first read out the story for all of you so that I don't miss any of the nuances that I want to cover. And then we will get into a reflective Q&A, and we are going to think through what we just heard. So with that, I start reading the story. In the forest beyond the royal courts, there lived a young prince named Ekalavya. He belonged to the Nishada tribe, skilled hunters, forest dwellers, proud yet outside the mainstream royal order. At that time, the greatest teacher of warfare in the land was Dronacharya, guru to the princes of Hastinapur, including the gifted Arjuna. Ekalavya had a single aspiration: to become the finest archer in the world. With determination in his eyes, he approached Dronacharya and bowed deeply, asking to be accepted as a student. But Drona refused. The Royal Academy was meant for princes. The social order had boundaries, and Ekalavya surely did not belong. Rejection did not weaken him. He returned to the forest, shaped a clay statue of Drona, placed it beneath a tree, and declared it his guru. Day after day, in silence and in solitude, he practiced. His arrows found the mark, his skill sharpened, his discipline deepened. One day, the Kuru princes were in the forest when a dog began barking uncontrollably. Suddenly enough, the barking stopped. The dog returned, his mouth sealed with arrows, placed so precisely that not a drop of blood was drawn. All the princes were astonished. Who could shoot like this? Arjuna wondered. They followed the trail and found Ekalavya, calm, focused, and a bow in his hand. When asked who his teacher was, he bowed towards the clay statue and said Dronacharya. When Drona heard of this, he felt a stir of concern. He had promised Arjuna that he would make him the greatest archer alive. Yet, here stood a young archer of extraordinary ability, caliber, trained in devotion, not in privilege. Drona approached Ekalavya and said, "If I am your guru, then you owe me Guru Dakshina." Without hesitation, Ekalavya bowed and asked what was required. "Your right thumb," Drona said. There was no argument, no protest, no resentment. Ekalavya knelt, drew his knife, severed his thumb. He placed it at Drona's feet, an offering of loyalty, obedience, and reverence. In that moment, he lost the very advantage that made him extraordinary. And yet, in the classical telling, he gained something else: eternal remembrance as the student whose devotion knew no bounds. This is a traditional narrative, the story of discipline, of hierarchy, of promises kept, of sacrifices given without question. And before we dive deeper, what is one fact that you heard now in the story that surprised you? Yes, Akansha.
I'm listening to this story for the first time. Like I knew about Eklavya and Dronacharya, but what I always thought was that he was actually his student, like physically went and learned things from him. I did not know that he had actually just created a statue of
Stamp.
him, and yes, so that was one fact that was surprising for me, that his determination was like this, that just considering a statue as his guru, he learned so much.
Yeah. For me, the fact that even Ekalavya was a prince in his own right and might, but even Ekalavya was a prince, was something new that I'd learned. I'd always learned of him as the tribals from the forest. That was the image that I had from the serials or whatever I've seen and read in comics. I think that was the image that I had. But he was a prince of the Nishada clan, which was a tribal clan, but despite that, he was a prince. I think that stood out for me in this version of the story. So, my first question is what was the first emotion that this particular story stirred for you? And we'll have everyone respond. What was that first emotion that you you met with after hearing the story? Yes, Ishita.
Whenever I have heard this story, the first thought that comes to my head is often, was it fair? Was it a justice done? However, uh, with some other readings, the more I read about it, the more I study our spiritual books, uh, I also feel, who are we to judge what is right, what is wrong? By
And who?
understanding the destiny or the karma or anything else that are related to it. With that
Yeah.
in mind, it I try to take it as a instance that has happened, but looking at a bigger picture, I don't have a bigger picture, so I can't really comment on this as a human who
Mm.
doesn't know where is it coming from, what might have inspired this. So yeah, one thing that I relate it to uh, today's life that we all lead as a professional, as a leader. It's always like there is something bigger than what we are seeing,
There is
always.
something deeper, bigger than what meets our eye. And
Hmm.
yes, definitely the questions around was it fair to Ekalavya definitely comes to our mind. Thank you. Yes, Asabri.
I was actually, it evoked inspiration in me and reiterated the proverb where there is will, there is a way. Despite not having the guru in person to tutor him, he
Mhm.
still managed to sharpen his skills so much that he was able to be- claw the dog's mouth the way he did with the arrows.
Yeah, wonderful. Sujit, you had put up your hand.
So not an emotion. Actually, I missed the last part of the story because someone came in the office and so I missed that last part.
Hmm.
But this one thing that is interesting that when we say, learning is internal motivation, this is one of the examples that can be used. That there was no
Absolutely.
one to teach him,
Yeah.
but yet he mastered the archery skill.
His discipline, dedication, devotion definitely got him to learn. Lovely. Now let's dissect the story into three lenses. We'll start with Dronacharya's lens, which comes from a lot of power and authority that the gurus in those days held in courts. In fact, yes, the leader was the Raja or the king, but they would always consult the guru before taking action. So that position did come with a lot of power and authority. And we'll start with one question that Ishita started with. Was the decision fair? Um, Given Drona's roles and responsibility, what comes to your mind? Whatever Drona did, he asked Ekalavya to sever his right thumb and give. Was it fair?
Looking, so not going beyond what is there in the story, not adding the other versions to it.
Hmm.
Uh, from the story, it's not getting very clear why is he asking for the thumb. So, does he really wants the thumb, or was there some intention? This part of the story doesn't make that clear. So there's a confusion of it for me.
Hmm. So we really don't know why was the thumb asked. Yeah,
Yes, he said
sure.
Guru Dakshina. So if he's saying Guru Dakshina, then he has already accepted him as a Shishya.
As a student, exactly.
Yes,
But he hasn't done his role as a guru.
yes.
Despite that, he asks for the dakshina. That's the unfairness that even I noticed. Yes, Rishabh, what's your point of view?
Yeah, ma'am. Dronachar asked for thumb with from Eklavya because Dronachar in his mind thinking that only Arjun will be the one person in he will be only the one who is
Best archer.
best in the
Yeah, that's the
archery.
promise he had made to the royalty, that
Yeah,
I will make each of your princes, the best in something. So the physical strength was Bhim, the righteousness, decision taking capacity was Yudhishthir. So he had decided that I'm going to give each one of them is going to be the best in something, and they'll all have their strengths. But with this one person who was not part of the royalty, challenging the status of Arjuna, then Dronacharya would not have been able to fulfill his promise. Now, if
yeah.
we look at it from Dronacharya's perspective, he was fulfilling his promise to the king. Does it sound as unfair still with Rishabh's addition to it?
Sounds fair because if he had made a promise.
He was
So it's
living up
it's
to
like,
his
we
promise.
go to
Yeah.
the client and we say we'll deliver the best training. Now,
Yeah.
maybe let's say, no, Ishita comes and delivers a better training than me. But I've
Yeah.
made the promise that I'm going to, prove my training is best. So
As
a
best.
promise is a promise.
Absolutely. So when we look at it, that Dronacharya had made the promise, suddenly it is not as unfair. He was living up to his promise. And in those days, word of mouth was very, very, very important. If they've said they will do it, they would give their lives to do it. So it was that important. So from that angle, definitely there seems to be, we're thinking possibly. Yes, Ishita.
If Dronacharya was in such a uh, good position, that means he was capable of holding that position. Um, if he was capable of holding that position, he should have, like how we say today, we will beg, borrow, buy, do anything but get this done. Uh, he could have done or taken a different route, maybe. And if he was such a disciplined, such a devoted student, Ekalavya, he could have modulated him to do something else other than archery, which I don't think, I don't know if he tried to do this, but I haven't read it anywhere also that he tried to modify or change his devotion in some other way.
Lovely perspective. Dronacharya was insecure of his position in the court. What if he's not able to deliver what he's promised on? And because of that, will his status or position in the court not remain the same? And hence, that hasty decision, in those days, archery was only possible with the use of the thumb. If you don't have a thumb, you cannot shoot a arrow. That was the real reason that the right thumb was asked. That if so, it is like, I'm going to make you absolutely incapable to compete with Arjuna, so that
Correct.
my position in the court is not challenged. Yeah. So are you seeing where leaders might feel insecure because of growth of somebody somewhere in the organization, and it may be all right decisions, but we may try and ruin the other person's growth. Think of it as a my team and their team, somebody from their team is doing better, and I have to prove my team member is better. I will try and find faults in the other team members doing, saying that, they didn't do this, that wasn't great, my team member did better. So leaders today are not very different from what Dronacharya did. Absolutely. Asavri.
I was just thinking on the aspect of fairness.
Hmm.
I- If at all we assume that he is being fair
Hmm.
to someone, then that is coming at the cost of being unfair to someone else.
Hmm.
So, how do we then justify what fair is?
Lovely. Fairness is a definition that each one of us decides for ourselves. What may seem to be fair to me may or may not be fair to you. Yeah, there's a very beautiful story that says, there are two train tracks, and the train is fast approaching. In one, there is one poor kid playing, in one, there is five other kids playing, and you kids can't hear anything. And you have that lever to change the direction. You have a choice to save five kids or one kid. Who would you save? Invariably, people will very happily say, I'm going to save five kids. More lives I can save is better, so I will change the lever, and unfortunately will have to allow that one kid to die. It seems fair. But then the next question is, what if you know that kid is yours? Then fairness has a very different meaning. It doesn't matter how many kids are there on the other track. I would save my kid. So fairness is a thing that we define for ourselves what it means. And absolutely right, Asavri, it will mean different things to different people. Hi, Meena, Shivani, warm welcome. We've just heard the story of Eklavya and Drona, and we are looking at it from Dronacharya's perspective. We started thinking about why might have Drona acted in a certain way. Yes, Sujit.
So the part where it says Eklavya was a prince,
Mhm.
there are two questions. Was the kingdom friendly to Hastinapur, or was it unfriendly to Hastinapur?
Mhm.
So if it is unfriendly to Hastinapur, then doing this is right. Like, you cannot let an enemy be more powerful than you. Then that's a
Stronger.
strategic decision.
Yeah, that's a strategic. Thank you for using that term, strategic decision. Yes. Yeah. Um,
And if it is a friendly one,
yeah,
then
I
doing
tried
this,
reading up. There is no clear indication, but the
uh,
tribals in those days had their own law of the land. They did not follow the law, rules, regulations created by the kings. So they used to do whatever they could within. So they used to own a forest, and that forest would be governed by the tribals. That's how it used to work in those days. So there
so
is nothing to
ideally,
say. Yeah, huh?
so ideally he was the uh, son of the Senapati of Jarasandh,
Who? Eklavya?
Eklavya. Jarasandh की army belong करता था, and later on he fought with that army itself. मतलब he joined
Ah,
the Jarasandh army.
joined the Jarasan, but I didn't know this relationship. Okay.
So that is one more reason. So again, that goes to another version. I don't want to go to the other version because then this story, because I'm just using this frame of the story.
This frame of the story.
Yes,
Yeah.
because if we keep on adding, then there are multiple layers to it.
Multiple versions. Totally agree. Totally
Since,
agree.
since you said so, then I just added because there's a version where it says he was actually the सेनापति sons of Jarasandh. या Jarasandh की family उससे कुछ उसका relation था. And Jarasandh was already a cruel king
Huh.
and not friendly to Hastinapur.
Not friendly. Yeah. So the initial story makes us question whether Dronacharya was fair, but then looking at the fact that he had promised to the king, he was doing whatever he did to live up to his promise. The fact that the tribals may not have been very friendly and accommodative of the kings in those days could have led to this. It could have been a strategic decision, as you mentioned, Sujit, to ensure that the kingdom remains safe. So there
So
could have been lots of reasons that now we can think of in terms of justifying Dronacharya's action of asking Eklavya's thumb. Can we draw a correlation to corporate life where leaders have to take tough decisions where it may not seem fair, where it may not seem just, but still,
boss is always right. Sorry, just boss is always right, then this is one thing that comes. Boss is always right. He was the boss. He decided.
Yeah. Yeah, and that the thought that comes to me is all the layoffs that are happening. Um, it is very unfair. Prima facie, the people who are losing their jobs is definitely not nice. But at the same time, in talking to some of the big shots who have had to let go people in three digits, um, what is surfacing is, Shanti, I could have either saved this 820, kept these 820 people, and you know, uh, and everybody suffered, or by letting go these 820 people, the 1,000 that are still remaining back are able to survive. So it was a choice that I had to make between not saving everyone and saving at least some of them. Um, and to me, that was a Dronacharya moment for him. So it's a coaching conversation that I'm sharing, that the whole trauma of telling people, saying that, we will be identifying X percentage of you to let go. And that was a big number for him. It was more than 40% that he had to let go in his organization. Um, and it is painful for the leader too. But then the choice is, do I let the company run into bankruptcy and all the, nearly 2,000 people don't have a job, or can I save some jobs? And suddenly that whole thing of a bad boss letting go people becomes, oh, he's actually trying to save somebody, um, really comes into the picture. Now let's look at it from Ekalavya's lens. Um, when does dedication cross the boundaries of unhealthy compliance?
Do something that you're not supposed to do.
You're not supposed to be doing. Did Ekalavya have a choice? Did Ekalavya have the choice to not give up his thumb?
In today's practical world, yes. Not looking from that lens, but this lens, yeah, he had.
He had. What could he have done?
He could have, maybe stood up and said, I've kept you as a guru, but you're not actually teaching me. I've done this whole thing. I've learned this on my own.
I've learned from a clay guru and I can present
Yeah.
back
I've
clay
kept you
thumb.
as an inspiration. Like I've kept the photo of Sachin Tendulkar as an inspiration for my cricket, but
Yeah,
I'm the one who's actually playing.
yeah,
If you would have given me like, the Brahmastra or, some other techniques,
yeah,
then what you're asking may be a fair deal from my side.
yeah,
Could have stood up
absolutely.
that.
Yeah. And for me, it was like I learned from a clay guru and I'll give a clay thumb. You want Guru Dakshina? I'll make a clay thumb and
Makes
give
sense.
it to you. Yeah. So that was the idea. Any other creative ways in which Ekalavya could have pushed back and yet respected um, the concept of Guru Dakshina?
Thinking
So
from
maybe,
Ekalavya's after Sujit.
no, no, it's okay. Go ahead.
So, so Ekalavya was trying to follow the dharma. I'm thinking from his lens,
Mhm.
and but then uh, that dharma was asked to follow at the terms of ethics. So I feel so answering your question, when does it, when does the boundaries cross? Is when ethics are not followed, yet a dedication is expected. Is when a professional can draw a line of when dedication should be there and when it has to be just let go.
Mhm. When the process or the decision is not ethical, it is okay to not be compliant, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Mhm. Thank you. Yes, Sujit.
Again, he went to the, you went to the boss and you want to leave. And the boss says no. तो बात खत्म हो गई. He went to Guru Dronacharya and he asked, like, take me your student. And he said no.
No.
And I think the topic ended there. If he wanted to learn archery, he could have gone to someone else. He was talented, right? So why did he, वो एक तरफा प्यार की तरह चिपक ही क्यों गए आप को ही क्यों चिपक गए?
Lovely.
That may have caused more damage because he said no outright. He has not said promise that I'm going to teach you. And
Very true. That
uh,
blind faith, that blind compliance from the moment Eklavya decided to make that statue. Yeah, are we seeing the same act that we all admired, that, he learned all by himself. He was so gritty, he was so disciplined, suddenly seems may not have been required. He did it on his own. Whether the statue was there or not, he still would have learned it had he followed just the discipline. Yeah, suddenly that seems um,
another
unwarranted.
layer,
Hmm.
another layer to it is if we look at the story, the dog goes to the ashram
Hmm.
and then they follow back and come to Eklavya. So the
Yeah,
proximity of Eklavya staying near the ashram is very, short. बहुत दूर नहीं है वो वहां से. He's not like, Guru Dronacharya Mumbai में है and he's in Delhi. No, he's just
huh.
staying there nearby. And
Yeah,
being a prince of the forest, he maybe have been, overhearing the conversations or chup chup ke maybe he was observing how it is being taught.
possible.
So maybe he learned from that and he knew he had done something wrong and he was like, नहीं ठीक है मेरी चोरी पकड़ी गई.
Very possible. Very
A
possible. But
possibility.
today, if James Clear comes and says, Shanti, you read my book, you give me Guru Dakshina, I will say, no, sorry, this is all my effort. I read. You've written the book, you've given it out in the public. You decided to do the sessions in the forest, in the open. Um, yeah.
But
No,
you
the
still
ashram is
bought
not
the book.
open.
Huh?
See, ashram is not open.
Ha.
Ashram is like, you have created a boundary.
Boundary.
So if there is something going in that boundary and I'm copying it there from
Hmm.
there, then
Hmm.
that is wrong.
Then that is wrong. Yeah.
That is where again, if we connect to Ramayana,
Hmm.
Sita crossed the boundary and then Ravan takes him. That's the
Yeah.
message. If you cross the boundary, there
Boundary,
are
then
going to be repercussions.
consequences.
So
Absolutely.
this is again
Lovely
where
perspective. I haven't found any evidence that Ekalavya did that, but definitely a thought comes, why this proximity? Why did Drona choose the same forest when there were so many forests for the training? Um, and
so
was he
Drona
even
was
out?
already there.
So
He's
was
already there.
Ekalavya. It was his forest only.
Huh, but like the ashram when it would have been set up,
Ha,
it has been set up in the Hastinapur's boundary.
correct.
Because it was under Hastinapur.
Ha.
So why did Eklavya choose to practice there? That's again a question. Did they not have any other gurus in that area? Was there no one to teach? Excel सीखना है तो इनके पास ही जाना है ऐसा था. But then in the same court we have Kripacharya. He's also a guru.
He's also Guru. He's also an archer.
Yes.
Uh,
And what about the other forest dwellers? Where were they learning the archery? Because they were hunting.
they were all hunters. Absolutely.
So where are they learning? So this proximity is where maybe he knew, he copied it and he knew maybe कि अच्छा मैंने गलत किया. So then he is giving the thumb maybe. The
Out of guilt.
yeah, the
A
penalty
lot
he's
of
accepting.
compliance comes from guilt. That's a very beautiful aspect you bring in. A lot of times, when compliance is adhered to without questioning, without challenging, probably it is stemming from some sort of a guilt that, oh, I must have done something wrong, and hence let me comply. Yeah,
Comply.
lovely, lovely aspect. Yes, Akash.
Compliance from guilt.
So we keep hearing that guru is above parents also. There's something that we keep hearing
Yes.
that your teachers, whoever is teaching you anything, is even above your parents. So maybe that was there in his head that I have considered him my guru and
Hmm.
he is above everyone else for me. So
Yeah,
if he's asking this of me, then I don't have a choice but to comply.
yeah. Feel that losing that sense of choice, that power to choose. When you lose
Yes.
it, then probably the choice is not the right choice. Yeah, when you're making an informed decision choice, it may be Right. Yeah.
So what you're saying, maybe he was in a lot of that pressure. Maybe.
Mm.
Yes, yes. That conditioning that we have, right? That this is right, this is wrong. The conditioning that we all have certain conditionings that when we come to our workplace also. That
Yeah.
this is right, this is wrong. So the conditioning that he had in his head was probably this, that no, he's my guru and
Mm.
he is above everyone else for me. So
Yeah.
whatever he says, I will do it without questioning it.
I have to do it.
I have to do it.
I have
I
to do
have
it.
to do
So
it. Yeah.
maybe he's
बॉस
coming
ने
from
बोला है तो
that.
करना पड़ेगा.
Huh.
Huh. And I think that happens in workplaces so much these days, where just because my leader, my manager, my CEO, my MD has said something, we have to do this without even questioning. And in fact, Dronacharya, when the whole story ends, Mahabharata, they all go to heaven, and each one is questioned in the court of Yama. And this was also asked of him, why did you do that? And he actually repents having asking the thumb. He says, in that moment, I probably thought I did what was best in that moment. But if you ask me as a human, I shouldn't have done it. There was an archer. It was my responsibility to lift up Arjuna. It also shows my lack of belief in Arjuna that he can outperform Eklavya. So I myself doubted my student. That's what he says in the end. Okay, I myself doubted my student to lift his capability up. So in that fear, I acted in fear. So it is also on the team to challenge and question the leader, um, not defensively, but question the leader, is this the right thing, or is this the only alternative possible? Yeah. Any other thoughts from Ekalavya's perspective that
This
come to
is
your
the
mind?
very same thing. What you just spoke is the same thing I read in one of the books, CEO Excellence.
Hmm.
Uh, it says that leadership, especially CEO's job, is a very, very lonely job. You are very
Very.
lonely in that place where you don't know what the future holds. You are taking risk,
Yeah.
and that's why it is very important to have a good peer group, a good number of critics around you who
Yeah.
will challenge you, who will question you, and yeah, that includes even family who ask you
Absolutely.
question. If you did this, what is the impact? What were you thinking?
But
Wonderful.
being said that, it is, most of the people, CEOs, like leaders, I think it's very important to have an open dialogue with your team members where they have the space to come up and say that no, this is wrong or this is right.
Both ways. It goes both ways. It is only when the leader creates that space
Yes.
for the team to speak up, and the team feels that I am contributing to the organization's growth. Only then this two-way communication will happen. Otherwise, it is, yeah, the leader will say, I will do. If the leader doesn't say, I will not do. No,
But
the
man,
whole.
the culture gets built with the CEO. It's always a trickle down effect.
It is.
Always. Like it cannot go from below to up. It'll not,
Yeah,
the river is not going to flow like that. The river is
absolutely.
always going to flow from the higher end to the lower end. If
Agreed.
today my leader is like that, that they want to have an open dialogue, they want people to come up with the ideas, and they accept that I am not a know it all,
Yes.
only then will that thing that Ishita was just mentioning happening is going to happen. Because I,
Perfect.
I've had experiences where the CEO feels that they know the best
Yeah.
and
A
they
lot
are the
of times.
How
they
was
are
it
Gurudhata Dhata.
staying in that organization, Akansha?
It wasn't a pleasant experience because when you were talking about the layoffs, right? I've
Yeah,
unfortunately had the experience of firing people, which is absolutely which is heartbreaking.
it is.
You don't want to do it, but you have to do it.
Mhm.
Sometimes it is right, sometimes it is completely wrong. If the person is a good fit and is fitting the organization's vision, mission, everything, but just because you have a personal vendetta against the employee and you've taken it up at your ego, and then you have to fire it because your higher up is saying that this person needs to be fired,
Yeah,
that's very bad, very very bad. I mean, I don't wish that on anyone because it breaks
absolutely.
your heart completely. But when there is a longer thing in your head that this is my broader vision, and Unfortunately, this person does not fit into it. And I
Yeah,
don't have a choice because, as you said, you need to look at saving thousands or, letting go of these 500, 600 people.
yeah.
Then you understand. So I think, like the CEO Excellence book that Ishita is mentioning, I think every CEO should definitely read it, maybe, try and understand that this is something that they need to do, accept.
If you're lonely out there, it is your responsibility to bring more people up on the same pedestal to be able to question you and challenge you. Yeah. Um, while that's absolutely right, yes, organizational cultures are top down driven, but it is equally the responsibility of the team member to voice what they say. And if they are not finding a fit, go elsewhere. There you will find your own leader who gives you that space. But by remaining
Definitely.
compliant, by not voicing your concerns, eventually the organization is going to crumble because such cultures will not survive. The leaders cannot know it all. Yeah,
True. Very true.
absolutely. Sujit.
Just to add this, here the listening of leader is very crucial. Listening and accepting, because I see this a lot when you see there's a need of change, but the leader is okay. नहीं हमारा चल रहा है चला है. So that is one thing. And second, I have a different perspective from the Duryodhan point of view.
Mhm.
Shall I share or
Yes, please.
so nowhere, even from all the stories that I've heard, there's not a single point where it has mentioned that Duryodhan has criticized this act or Shakuni has criticized this act of Dronacharya.
Correct.
So this brings two concepts to me. Either this whole narrative is just an added narrative, or it happened for the best because Duryodhan is someone who's not itna wo guru bhakt nahi hai. Like, he will criticize Dronacharya.
Yeah,
But I've never found Duryodhan or Shakuni or Dhritarashtra criticizing Dronacharya for this.
yeah.
Because if this is a big event, there's a prince whose thumb you have asked, you fired a person, or you're firing a person, there is going to be a lot of
There are other leaders,
paperwork.
managers who should have questioned, but they chose to be bystanders.
Right?
Okay, hasn't impacted me, so let me not say anything.
So either that, but if you look into the character of Duryodhan, the moment Karn enters, he knows that this is going to be the best player for me. He chooses it.
Yes, he
He could
chooses.
have done that and he's done that for a
Eklavya
lot of
too.
people.
Absolutely.
So why he's
Lot
not
of
doing that
people,
for him?
he's given them, pieces of land to own and say, now you are a king. Here
Yes,
too, it was a prince. It was their forest, and he could have said, okay, okay,
yes,
it's
yes.
okay. He can be
But he
part
is
of.
not standing up. He is not doing anything.
Yeah,
So 2 points, like leaving that, then
yeah.
why has not a single person, the team members or the why were everyone?
Bhishma kept quiet.
Yeah.
Dhritarashtra kept quiet. Yeah, they all
So maybe
were
the decision
bystanders.
was best for the organization.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
You
At least
know,
that was on their minds. Ki, yeah, we would want one of our. I mean, they could have thought of Ekalavya as the army chief. The best archer in their army would have been such a strong point, and foolishly losing it for a smaller goal that meant one of our sons to be the greatest archer. They lost a big opportunity there. But in that moment, I'm sure they would have thought this is the best because we would want our prince, one among our princes to be the best of whatever.
so either he was a competitor
He definitely was. He was, if not better at that point in time, at least as good as Arjun. And
or
so the verse goes that Dronacharya's thought was, me having taught Arjuna parallels the skills of Ekalavya. And what if I give him more time? At some point in time, he may become better than Arjuna. So the fear of Arjuna not literally being the best archer had already seeded because of Ekalavya. And hence this
a
thing.
second thought on that.
Huh.
Uh, don't take it otherwise. A second
Huh.
thought on that. Um, Actually, जो काम छोटी सी चीज से हो सकता था, कुत्ता भौंक रहा था, लेकिन डॉग वाज बाकी.
Huh.
Why did you shoot so many arrows in the dog's mouth? That's an act of cruelty.
Yeah.
जो
But
शायद
the
में भी
dog was not hurt.
हाँ, but he could not speak. He would have suffocated,
Yeah.
felt. अब किसी के मुंह में कपड़ा बांध दो तो
Yeah.
उसको कैसा लगेगा? And if the dog would have not went back, we don't know how much time the dog would have suffered. So that is
Absolutely.
where Drona would have seen that maybe,
That this
skill
is
तो है.
something big in the making. I have
Yeah,
to
the person
contain it.
has got the skill, but right now he may not be, the Superman that I need right now.
Very interesting perspective. Hadn't crossed my mind. Yeah. It sounds not cruel because there was no drop of blood, but then I'm sure the dog was uncomfortable with all the
Otherwise,
blood.
why would have he, gone back to? So
Uh,
the dog again goes back to Toda because he knows there is only one. There are few people there who may help.
who may
No.
help. Yeah.
My first question was like, why did
Yeah.
he went to the ashram? Because
Ashram.
the dog may have known there is someone in the ashram.
There is people there to save me. Very
Hmm.
interesting perspective. Thank you. Akansha.
So one thing is how we, as a leader, sometimes due to nepotism, this was in a way nepotism only towards Arjuna
Oh,
that
yes.
Dronacharya was doing. How nepotism blinds us that we don't see talent somewhere else.
Absolutely. Ashwathama, being Dronacharya's own son,
Son.
was less preferred because of this promise that I will make one of the Kuru kings, each of the Kuru kings, princes best in something.
Yes.
And Ashwathama was very sad about this. Why doesn't my father
My
teach me the
father.
same way he teaches Arjuna? So
Yes.
absolutely, that
And
whole
one more thing that I wanted to bring about when I was just listening to this is that Dronacharya's lack of belief in himself.
absolutely.
It was not only about the promise that he made, but he should have believed in himself that no, I will not ask for the thumb. I am going to
I
make
want to
Arjun
train
better.
Arjuna better.
Yes,
Yeah.
I am going to train him better so that, yes, I will fulfill my promise, but this way.
Yeah, absolute
So his lack
insecurity and insecurity on his competencies and also
also
his
on
favorite
Arjuna's
students' competencies.
competency. Yes, both.
So if I just add what Akansha said, um, it's the insecurity in terms of being the breadwinner of the family.
Mm.
He
Yeah,
came to Hastinapur all because of Ashwasthama.
yes.
Because they were very poor, they did not had the bread, so he needed that to work. So again, maybe the lack of insecurity was coming from his family, where if this guy becomes good, I lose my job. What is going to happen to my family? So to save my family.
And I'm so sorry, Shivani. I'm just seeing your comment in the chat. You've been saying this for the last few minutes, and I did not see that. Yeah, unfortunately, Dronacharya undermined his own teachings. She mentioned this a long while ago, but apologies for missing that in the chat. Hadn't seen the chat pop up. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, since we are talking about bystanders, I wanted to bring one more lens, Arjuna's lens. Yeah. Um, what do you think Arjuna would have felt when he saw his guru ask for another random kid's thumb?
Could you please
Arjuna
repeat the
would have,
question?
Arjuna is totally, uh, he's totally into the guru. He is not going to question him.
Hmm.
तो वो क्वेश्चन नहीं उठाएंगे, वो जो कर रहे हैं गुरु सही कर रहे हैं. He's not questioning the guru.
Yeah. He will
They
not
have
question.
they have that bond, like
I'll do
that bond
what
is
my
not with.
guru asks me to do.
Yes,
Yeah.
that bond is not with any of the Kurus or Pandavas.
Yeah. Akansha?
So
I think
just trying to understand what Sujit was just bringing a perspective here. So if that is what was there in Arjun's head that he was so devoted to Dronacharya, then during Mahabharat, why is he again and again questioning Krishna? That why should I fight? Why should I fight? They are my people, they are my cousins. This is my guru against whom I am fighting. Maybe he developed as a human, because of course he was a child when he was going to Dronacharya and learning, and he developed as a human, and now he's questioning. But just trying to bring in two sides of the same coin. He may have felt that no, this is good for me in a
Yeah,
manner because
again,
I want to be the best.
so
Possible.
Both your answers are partially right. The thought is partially right. So yes, Arjun feels bad at that moment, but he decides not to question Dronacharya. Yeah. And again, same in the Yama's quote, when he's questioned, why didn't you? He said, one, he was my guru. Second, um, somewhere I believe that Yudhishthir will be the next heir and I will be his right hand person. So I needed to be the best in what I did. And my guru had promised me. So I believed that what he did was right. So did he feel bad? The answer is yes. Just try and think of a similar situation that might happen in corporates. Very relevant right now when we are talking today.
May I add something here?
Yes, please, Shivani.
Yeah, so Arjuna might not have questioned his guru Dronacharya because he was devoted. But how would he have felt that his guru did not consider him to be the best? He was getting the teachings from the best guru. Still, his guru didn't have that kind of belief in him. And he had to ask somebody else to cut his thumb so that he could remain the best. So that feeling should have stayed with him, I believe.
Yeah, and very true, Shivani. And that's the thought that came to me these days during International Women's Day. And this whole concept of promoting women is so strong that I've heard the term diversity hire. This person is a diversity hire, labeling, saying that they did not get the position because of their capability, because of their skill, but because this position was meant to be filled by a woman. That's why they are there. Or uh, when women are forced to be promoted out of turn, even though they are not willing to take on responsibilities, saying that we want X percentage as women in management. I see an Arjuna in them to like, I'm just a diversity hire. I'm here because I'm a diversity hire. I'm not here because of my capabilities, my skills, my strength, or because you want to meet your numbers. You are promoting me not because I want it, not because I am ready to step into that position yet. So that's the thought that came to me as to, who could be the Arjunas of modern day world. Um, could be women um, who are labeled as diversity hire, and they actually are. They've been put into those roles not because of their competencies. I just wish that could change and women were promoted or put in positions because of their capability and competencies, and not just because they are women. I would really love to see, and I can see how that the whole contrast of what Arjuna would have felt then, I'm guessing these women feel today. Yes, Akansha.
Also, it makes it, of course, women definitely feel bad that they know it's just a number that they're fulfilling, or just being there on the table because of the, equality thing. But also from that point of view, it is very difficult for the men nowadays,
All
especially
Ekalavyas are men, yeah. Why,
because
why this happens to me? Absolutely.
I've seen so much that so many people, when I talk to them, and men managers, they're having it very difficult nowadays. They cannot, like, if it's a woman manager, she can probably scold the subordinate for in whichever way, scold, rectify them without having to worry of the gender difference that is there.
Yeah,
It's considered okay, no problem. But if a man is doing it the same way, everything's same, it
yeah,
becomes a issue. This is how I was spoken to, and especially if the subordinate is a woman there. So it becomes
yeah,
very difficult for the person to handle the entire situation. For a woman, it's much easier that way. So just
yeah,
bringing in what Shivani said and what you also said, that
yeah,
it's very difficult for the men nowadays to handle and be managers, because people take it to heart. I'm a woman, that's why I'm being treated like this.
yeah.
That's also something that comes up. So
Absolutely. So having the privilege need not always be beneficial. Uh,
yes.
yeah, and again, lack of privilege, I don't think can ever be beneficial. So yeah, men who see women who are not capable enough in positions that they feel fully equipped to perform and perform well, they will feel bad. They will feel,
Definitely.
unjust, like Eklavya felt. Absolutely. Yeah. Sujit.
So something that Akansha was saying, I see this in a lot of terms of dressings. Like, men, you have a very well-defined formals.
Mm.
Females, कुछ भी चलता है offices में. Like, सब allowed है. It's actually very hard to define what is a formal and what is not a formal dress for a female.
Absolutely.
So that is one thought, what Kansha was saying. And there is one thought in terms of leadership. When you say what Arjuna may have felt, maybe Arjuna was not in that frame where he could think at that time.
Mm.
At times, what the leadership is viewing, I'm not, I'm at the bottom. I don't know what is the thought process up there.
Yeah.
And again, the as per the story, if I see in terms of leadership, it's a very dictatorship decision that he has taken. He has not
Absolutely.
consulted, or
Anyone.
anyone. He
Anyone.
just said that I want this. So
Yeah.
even to someone to act or maybe say something, they may have not thought why he's doing so, because I see you as a leader. Like right now you're doing the section, you're doing the best thing. I may not question your intention right now,
Yeah.
but years later, when he is, in the battlefield, that's where he may have thought, "Arey, nahi, uh, abhi to,
Some of my choices weren't the right choices.
हाँ,
Yeah.
हाँ." We are in organization, particularly when we are into sales, you will see a lot of time
Mm.
promises करने पड़ते हैं client को, क्योंकि वो numbers meet करने हैं.
हाँ.
And this is not what is going to happen, but the boss has said number लाने हैं. तो इंश्योरेंस में आप कुछ भी प्रॉमिस करके आ जाते हो, या कोई और प्रोडक्ट में you promise anything that comes.
Yeah.
And then when you come back, this is not going to be delivered. So to make sure that you take those dictatorship decisions, maybe.
Yeah, those decisions from an impulse that I have to act now, and I don't have time, energy, space to consider others' point of views.
Yes.
And a lot of those decisions may not be the best possible decisions.
Right.
Absolutely. Thank you. Ishita.
So these things actually still happen today,
Oh, yeah.
not just in corporate. So this reminded me uh, of a story that I heard from a family member. My brother-in-law is an artist. He went to Shantiniketan for his education, and after graduating from Shantiniketan, he wanted to learn something very specific in sculpturing, and
Mm.
there was no courses in India. He could not afford to go. There was some course in Mexico, but then he could not afford to go there at that point in time. So he started learning from an individual who is apparently the only one in India, but he wasn't ready to teach. Instead, what he asked for was, he asked my brother-in-law that I will teach you, but then instead you have to work for me for the next 3 years. I don't understand. I did not understand what motivation was there for my brother in law to spend 3 important years of his life just to study there or with this person. And he could have worked something else, studied something else, and then went to Mexico. But then these still happens. I think this is more about the emotion attached to what you want to learn.
Absolutely. Yeah, that emotional decisions, Ekalavy's whole decision to make that sculpture of Dronacharya and pretend to learn from it. Of course, I'm sure that a clay model could not have taught him anything. What he did was all on his own, but still that emotional connect that I consider him as a guru, so I'll make that clay model and almost worship it. Definitely an emotional decision. And what just connecting all the threads, one emotional decision leading to the other, to the other, to the other, then it just cascades into an avalanche of so many irrational and emotional decisions. Yeah. Thank you. Akansha.
So, sorry. Also, like Sujit was saying, the leadership style of Krishna and that of Dronacharya was very different.
Yeah.
Krishna always treated him, Arjun, as a friend. So always encouraged him to ask questions. Whatever is going on in his mind, he always encouraged that okay, what is going on in your head, what are you thinking, what are you feeling? Whereas Dronacharya never did that.
Yeah,
So that is why probably the space for him to ask, which was not there at that point of time. Just adding to what Sujit was saying.
Possible.
absolutely. And in fact, I use this distinction when I'm trying to explain to my clients the difference between mentoring and coaching. I use Dronacharya and Krishna, that Krishna always used to explain to Arjuna through way of questioning. And Dronacharya was very directive, say this, do this, be this. Directions were given based on what he thought was best. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
That again brings to the point of psychological safety that a leader needs to create for his
Yeah,
team to speak up, question, ask.
yeah. And a leader who does not have the courage will feel safe in that directive environment where I will tell you, you do. Because if you question and I don't know the answer, then I don't look good. Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
just to add, maybe, as we were talking about, what if, so Dronacharya is the teacher, he's not the leader right now. I'm just,
Yeah, yeah,
changing that perspective. And when he says, I'm promising that, everyone would be some in some archery, even the Hastinapur, why did they let him have that authority?
yeah,
What you teach my kids will make sure, later on what happens. So
yeah,
maybe he was having that additional workload that he was not supposed to have.
absolutely.
If he
He
would have been
agreed
just
to that
teaching,
workload and to a workload that he probably had no control over.
yes,
Yeah, the Nakul and Sehdev were very good artisans and musicians.
right,
Yeah, but that was not warfare.
no.
Uh, but he had to force fit that and say, you know what, they are good in something, and that's what I'd promise you I've delivered. Uh, yeah, so absolutely.
So the
But
workload was not matching to him, maybe.
Mhm.
but as a teacher also, isn't it the responsibility of the teacher to mold the student in such a way that they can question everything? This is something that I am telling from my own teaching experience, that when I used to teach, and sometimes kids just nod whether they're understanding or they're not understanding. They will just nod that yes, yeah, ha ha, samajh aa gaya. That's their thought process, that okay, I've understood, so that you can probably just move forward, because of course my subject was also maths and science. Many of them would not understand, so they would gladly nod along that okay, it's fine, I've understood. But then I always encouraged them to ask questions, that no, you ask me why this, you ask me why that. You should not just like a sheep keep nodding that yes, I have understood. Don't do that. Keep asking questions, because unless you ask questions, you do not develop your own personality, your own thought process. That's not something that you develop. So just trying to bring that also, that probably yes, he was like that, Dronacharya, but could have encouraged things like this as well.
But that also stems from the fact that did Dronacharya feel competent enough? Only then he'll create that space. What Shivani mentioned, did he question his own capabilities of
Capability.
being able to answer the questions from his own students? Is a big space of insecurity. If he doesn't feel confident, then he'll feel safe. Okay, this is working well. Let me direct and let them follow. This seems working for me right now, and they may want to stay. So it's, yeah, definitely insecurity on both the sides, the teacher as well as the students. Yeah.
So just taking the story out of the frame from what we have read,
Mhm.
just taking it out of the frame, if we look into the vision or mission of Dronacharya,
Mhm.
his vision is very clear that he wants to take revenge from Panchal Naresh.
Yes.
No, he's not coming from a space of motivation or positive motivation, but he has been kind of बहुत उसके साथ बहुत he feels a lot of disrespect trust टूटा है उसका
Yeah.
because of Panchal Nari. Second, his son is hungry. Again, the basic need, the food is not being met.
Yeah.
अश्वत्थामा को दूध नहीं मिलता था इसलिए वो पंचाल नरेश के पास गया उसने भी इज्जत निकाल दी
निकाल दिया बाहर, हाँ.
बाहर निकाल दी and then he comes back and this is the place where he's getting his bread and butter, he's
Yeah.
getting the food, shelter, everything.
That sense of loyalty. I will do everything in my might because they provided for me.
They are the provider for me. So again, maybe that's the reason he's not getting into more of the experiment mode. बस ये जॉब मिला है इसके सारे पूरी जिंदगी निकल जाएगी.
Yeah,
अभी और एक्सपेरिमेंट करने की जरूरत नहीं है.
जरूरत नहीं है. This is my safe space. Let me stay
Yes.
in this
So
safe.
you'll find a lot of people in organizations who have stayed there in the organization for 30, 40 years. And they
Yeah,
have become the leader because they are there in the organization.
yeah.
They may not be good leaders.
Very
They were
true.
given some task, and since they're doing that task, they're still doing the same task with the same thought concept. They're not changing. They're not. Uh,
Absolutely.
so even if we see in the later part of the life, where he knows Duryodhan is wrong, but since he has chosen कि ये bread and butter यहाँ से आया तो नहीं change होगा.
He stays there.
हम इस
He stays there.
जहाज के साथ डूब जाएंगे, इसको बचाएंगे नहीं. टाइटैनिक को बचाना नहीं है हमने.
नहीं है. जहाज के साथ डूब जाएंगे. Yeah, so true. Ishita.
Um, although we discussed a part of these things a while ago, but I'm also thinking Dronacharya was bound by the oath that he has taken or the promise he has given that he will make Arjuna the best archer. First thing. Second thing, uh, when he saw a better archer than Arjuna, so it was always the promise. I mean, the promise has to stay a promise, and it was very important at that point in time too. Ideally, it should be today, but then we modulate a lot of things. Ideally, Dronacharya just kept his promise before his dharma of
Yeah.
trying to do anything else. He just wanted to keep his promise point blank. उसके आगे कुछ भी नहीं है. मैंने जो एक बार कमिटमेंट कर दी तो मैं अपनी भी नहीं सुनता टाइप्स. Now that if you think only this aspect of it, this doesn't put Dronacharya in a wrong picture or any wrong picture नहीं बोलूंगी. I mean, in any other left wing, right wing, center wing. So he did what he was supposed to do. And where is he wrong there?
Yeah,
He did
he's
his
not
job
wrong. I
and
think
he
he
did
did
a
not
very
exercise.
diligent job.
I, he's not wrong. I think my only thing is he did not think through his choices. Did he have other choices? He did not think through his intention. I'm not questioning his intention. Staying true to his promise. एक तो पहले तो प्रॉमिस करते हुए भी सोच समझ के करना चाहिए लोगों को. We'll come to that a little bit later. There are so many tentacles to the story, gosh. I'm just uncovering. Yeah, but the fact that he's promised and he's living to his promise is a brilliant thing. I would love for people to stay true to their promise even today, but not exercising the choice that the only alternative he thought was make um, Eklavya absolutely a useless archer. He can't use his thumb, so he can't be the best archer. That was the only thing he
And,
thought was possible.
and this is a human psychology. Human
Yeah,
will protect their ego at the cost of anything.
anything.
Ego of their own mental image that this is what I look like today.
Yeah, and I have to
You,
live
I
it
look
every
like today, and I will do anything to protect this image.
Very true. A thing that I think we need to be mindful of. If I am feeling choiceless, what image am I trying to protect? What image, what self-image of mine am I trying to protect? Very valid question. Thank you, Ishita. Akansha.
Just bringing it into a bit of business here. He should have done a proper, he should have created smart goals, done a proper SWOT analysis before, jumping to something. He should have done these, at least these two things, made smart goals and done SWOT analysis before coming into conclusion that this is what I can deliver. This is
Absolutely.
also a learning that, we can take from this thing.
Yeah, yeah. And there were other ways which he didn't explore. Absolutely. Thank you. Sujit.
We're reading the story from one angle where we are looking, he took the thumb because he wanted to make him a useless archer, right? But maybe I missed that part. I've not heard that point, where he thinks to make him useless.
Or
What
not
if
as
we,
competent as, so it supposedly the lines say that thumb gives the direction to the arrow. That is what it used to be in those days, that the thumb gives the direction to the arrow, and if the thumb was not there, you can still shoot an arrow, but it may render it directionless. That's what the verses mean. So actually he fought. He did archery even after that, but was not the best archer. Just that.
So that two things I'm just putting it.
Mm.
One thing is like as I said, we don't know actually the intent because we're making up that intent where he's
Absolutely.
we're saying that he took the thumb because he could not become the best archer. But what if, on the other hand, he had seen that idea that this is the guy who can actually bring a new dimension to archery?
Mhm.
What he had, because if you look into Dronacharya, he's a Brahma Rishi.
Yeah.
He knows the Mahabharata is going to happen.
Yeah.
So he knows a lot of people are going. So again, I'm going out of the frame of the story now. But he knows Mahabharata is going to happen and all the Maharathis are going to die.
Hmm.
The archery that we know is going to die. Then how is it going to remain? Then someone who can do it without,
The thumb.
dumb.
Yeah. Very valid point. Very valid point.
So
Uh,
maybe he, kind of identified the talent.
Very possible. I would still say, could he have asked Eklavya to not use his thumb rather than take away his thumb? You know, that's the only thing. Yeah, but that's a very lovely perspective because these people, he knew his date and time of death too, Dronacharya. Despite that, on the battlefield when this Rashvatama nahi raha, so he assumed it was his own son and he gave up fighting. Despite that, knowing that I am nearing my end of life and people would play tricks and my psychology will move me into inaction, he knew all of that. Still, he did that. Very true. Maybe he knew something and it was a deliberate act. Yeah, Ishita.
I would love to add another layer of what Sujit just said.
Huh.
Uh, uh, it could be looked at like a talent development. Yeah,
Hmm.
you are a senior leader into L&D of any organization. You know there are hundreds and thousands of people outside the organization who would do a lovely job with less of your time, less of your efforts and everything. But you still do your best to protect, empower, and upskill the inner talent. You don't
Yeah.
go out of the organization until and unless you are hiring something new. So Dronacharya, I feel, did just the same. He is nurturing the inner talent, not going beyond the
Inner
boundaries
talent.
to
Absolutely.
nurture outside talent.
My team should be a star performing team, and he did all in his might to get there. I mean, today it is very easy for us to sit and debate and, dissect the story from every single angle. Um, but I'm sure that there were good and not so good intentions across all of them, across all of them. Yeah. One last angle. How
So
do you think?
just
Huh,
before you add the angle, maybe just adding. So what if he was trying to develop a USP, a new product, you
yeah.
know? Because हर कोई पांच
Constraints
उंगली
are
से चला रहा है,
yeah, constraints bring out ideas and innovation.
and
Absolutely.
he may have seen that ये बंदा बिना सिखाए इतना सीख रहा है. Like this guy is learning so much without me teaching.
Yeah.
Let's see if he can perform with 4 fingers. Maybe that is the USP that he was trying to bring out, a new
Just
product.
try to bring out. Yeah.
It failed, maybe. We don't know. It failed. So, you do an experiment in
Didn't
leadership.
It didn't fail. He did become an archer with 4 fingers. Um,
I'm just
and
putting up,
yeah,
what I'm
yeah,
putting up is like, as a leadership, you do some experimentation. Sometimes it
experimentation.
backfires, sometimes it,
It
works.
thrives. Sometimes it backfires. Lovely. It's a very interesting perspective. Are leaders brave enough to experiment, knowing that things may not be successful? Yeah. One last perspective. What about everybody else, all the other prince, Bhim, Nakul, Sahadev, Yudhishthir, um, mm, and the 100 Kaurav prince, they were all there. What do you think they would have felt?
You've got a very new perspective.
Hmm.
What happens? What if Eklavya came into the pressure? अबे 100 लोग आ गए, 105 लोग आ गए, अंगूठा दो नहीं तो सर भी काट लेंगे,
Ah,
right?
so I don't have a choice.
And
Let
then
it peacefully, let me amicably resolve it because they absolutely outnumber me. There is no way I can fight against these 105 kids. Yeah.
It just came to my mind,
Yeah.
looking at 105 people with that dog. And Dronacharya, he may have thought something.
He may have thought something. Yeah. The smartest thing right now is to give in, because I don't think it is a battle worth fighting. Absolutely. Yeah. What would a Bhim have thought, or a Nakul have thought, or a Duryodhan have thought, witnessing all of this?
Maybe Duryodhana was thinking, let's see how loyal he is.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yeah.
he came to us because of the food and shelter.
Yeah.
So how loyal he is now, he sees another talent. What is he going to be loyal to us?
Absolutely. An absolute bystander challenging Dronacharya's loyalty. Yeah. And maybe that was one reason Dronacharya took this action, that there are so many eyes watching me to prove whether I am loyal or not. So let me do something radical, that the word goes to the king that yes,
Right.
I stood loyal. Absolutely. I saw some hand go up, then it went down. Yeah. Yeah, I'm just
As of
thinking.
being,
Huh?
what I think is he's very, sorted person. You tell
Who?
him, Bhim,
Beam. Yeah.
you tell him, he's like, kar diya. He's not putting much of brains.
Yeah. So one group of people were definitely, it is not impacting me. I will do as I'm asked to do. I will follow. I will comply
Hmm.
without questioning. That is one group. Wonderful.
In
What
any which
other?
is, I'm not being questioned right now. I'm
Yeah,
doing
I'm
my
not
job,
being questioned. Yeah.
not
And
being
then there
questioned.
is the Duryodhan group that says, um, it's for them to prove. Yeah, it's the righteous thing to do in this moment. So if it's happening without my intervention, let it happen.
Let it happen.
Yeah. What's the third group?
Maybe the Yudhishthir part where, he's thinking what is right and wrong. Where do I find the justice to this?
Where do I find justice? This is right and wrong. I was also thinking from Yudhishthir and Bhim's perspective, they were equally strong in other aspects. Yeah, they may not have been the best archer, but the Gada was Bhim's tool. Yeah, he was the best Gadadhari. Um, the question is, so, why this favoritism to Arjun? Why is Arjun such a favorite student? Why not
There's a
me?
story to it, actually.
Hmm.
There's a story to it.
Okay, what's the story?
Um, so, again, the organization has tested all its employee at various points of time.
Mm.
So every time there is a test, Arjun has cleared that test.
Cleared that test.
So as an employee, I have, trusted him. Abhi he's like, he's always standing by me. The story is basically, one is we know that Chidiya ki aankh, like,
Hmm.
the
But वो
bird's eye.
archery का example है ना? Where
Ha.
is
But
in Gada,
before
where
that,
has Arjun defeated Bhim?
there is a story where Dronacharya goes into water and a
Hmm.
crocodile comes and hits Dronacharya.
Hmm.
So what happens? All the Kauravas run away.
हाँ.
Pandavas also, apart from Arjun, all the other four brothers go to bring some help.
Hmm.
Arjun is the only one who has, trust in himself.
Stayed and fought.
He
Hmm.
he takes up his arrows and starts firing those arrows into the crocodile's mouth.
Hmm.
So that trust, kind of has already built up between them.
Built
Those
up
two.
between the two. Yeah.
So
Very
that is the
interesting.
reason maybe the favoritism came in
There
because
is favoritism. Yeah, there
every
is
time there is a
absolute
crisis,
favoritism. Yeah.
there's a crisis. This is the guy who comes into the rescue. So let
Yeah.
me, create him the
Let
best one.
him be my flag bearer who will take my
Yes.
legacy forward, kind of a thing. Yeah.
Yes.
Very interesting. Very interesting. All right, lovely perspectives, people. We'll summarize the whole thing with a couple of questions, reflective ones. Where in your current role in your organization, do you hold Drona-like power?
Not right.
Think again. Drona was not the king. Still, he was powerful.
No, not right now. I cannot find that.
Anyone else? Where in your organization do you have Drona-like power? And you can define what Drona-like means for you in this moment, yeah? Because the whole story of Drona, we've dissected it from so many angles. You may pick up an angle and say, if this is the angle, then yes, I have these powers.
So I may be at the entry point of it right now.
Mm-hmm.
With my work over in this organization for the last 1.5 years, I've started changing things.
Mm-hmm.
The way the trainings were happening, the way the teacher trainings were happening. So I've started changing things. I may be at the entry point where they now have started, understanding that he's a good trainer, he's a good facilitator
Yeah.
now. So I may be at the very entry point.
Yeah, I'm at a stage where I'm building my brand as Dronacharya.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
fair enough. Thank you. Anyone else?
So, for example, if it helps others also, I have given an idea that the salespeople that we have, let's develop a coaching program for the managers who in turn can work with their groups.
Mm,
So the learning can be passed down and they can become more strong salesperson. So
wonderful.
that is the idea that I've shared with the organization. So do I make the Arjuna or Eklavya? That will be a question.
Lovely. Actually, that is my next question. Let's put on Arjuna hat first and think about where might we unknowingly be benefiting like Arjuna. I've been Arjuna in so many occasions, I can't tell you. And it feels bad to be the Arjuna at home and at work. Things
At
have
home,
been
to I'm Eklavya.
at home, we are multiple sister-in-laws, and I know I am favored, and I know I am the Arjuna. Therefore, let me not talk through the reasons, but I enjoy it. But I also feel bad that, mm, I'm sure they
At,
are feeling the Eklavya who are deprived of certain rights and privileges.
at work, I'm getting a few Arjuna treatment.
Mm, yeah.
So like the way we changed the training and with the way we got the results. So what used to happen is we used to have a lot of we are into publication. So we have a lot of products. What
Mm,
happens is this is the product, this is the feature, this is the feature, this it goes a lot of theory.
mm.
When I came into the organization, I'm like, ये नहीं चलेगा, इनको नहीं समझ में आ रहा है. मुझे नहीं समझ में आ रहा तो इनको भी नहीं समझ में
इनको भी
आएगा.
नहीं आएगा बिल्कुल.
तो वेरी सिंपल थिंग दे आर अडल्ट लर्नर्स दे आर ऑलवेज ऑन फील्ड आप उनको अचानक से एक दिन ऑफिस बुला के 6 घंटे बिठा देते हो तो नहीं समझ में आने वाला है. So initially it was difficult to convince that because that was the hierarchy that was going on. But then
Yeah.
they were like, let's try it once. I was like, ठीक है करते हैं. And that session was well accepted by the sales people also. The comment was पहली बार सोए नहीं.
So nice, so nice.
So uh, from there, I think then now I get that Arjun thing
Mm,
in terms of training at least.
wonderful. Ishita.
So, um, I am being trusted like a Dronacharya for lot of um, messaging that my organization sends out. And I know that I am being trusted there. However, when I collaborate with others, it gets very difficult for me to open my mind because I am so used to a pattern that I used to follow. And I have to consciously make that effort every single time or every minute while I'm collaborating with somebody, discussing things with somebody. And I would love to hear that, no, Ishita, you are wrong there. You are thinking from what we have done already. Let's think about what we have not done. Why not experiment? And
Wonderful.
I would love to hear that question. I rarely get it, maybe because I I know people know that I'm being trusted. That okay, if she's saying no, then it is
She must be right. Yeah.
she must be right. I am a human and I know that I could be wrong. And that will help me broaden my worldview or mindset
Absolutely.
too.
You need not be wrong, but you cannot have all the perspectives. Yeah. Just by broadening the perspectives itself would help you grow. Um, if others start to challenge you. Yeah, probably you are that Arjuna in the safe cocoon where,
Yeah.
whatever Ishita says must be right. Lovely reflection. Anyone else who's experienced an Arjuna moment and would love to share? Yes, Akansha.
I just want to say from a perspective that when you are in a company, and rather when you join a company, you are in Eklavya.
Hmm,
And slowly you need to prove and become Arjun.
very nice. Yeah.
You may be
So
talented, definitely, but then you need to be dependable also. Like, Sujit was telling that he was a favorite because of certain things that every time he did, that he is there no matter what. So I think you need to, as an employee, when you join an organization, you're in Eklavya, and you slowly need to transition and become Arjun. And then definitely, I think you'll get the scope of becoming a Dronacharya as well. So, because then you will start training
Oh, love
people,
that.
you will have
Progression,
that.
huh?
Yes, it's a progression from Eklavya to Dronacharya. It's a journey that all of us are going.
initially, if you have to, change down to train, like if I give my example, so initially I used to do that theory-based training, which I was not enjoying. But as a club, आपको अंगूठा देना पड़ेगा. So what you said, तो देना पड़ेगा. And then when they have understood, then you step into the role of Arjuna and then Dronacharya. Wonderful perspective.
Lovely. Then let's also think, where have we behaved like an Eklavya in our organizations? I can give an example where my one of the organizations that I worked with, I am good with structuring, planning, and I take pride in being a very structured in terms of my thinking, organizing. I would realize that anybody in the team, they needed to plan and structure anything, it will come to me. So 80% of my time was spending only in planning and structuring, and my own work was so terribly hampered because I'm constantly trying to be, hey, I'm that smart person who can structure things for you. It was really not helpful unless I started pushing back. You at least get the first level done, then I will review. But it took a long while to get there. But yeah, yes, Asavri.
If I can still continue with your question on Arjun,
Yeah.
so I'm just reminded it was in one of my coaching conversations. So this was for for a teenager. So the initial interaction was, of course, with the parents.
Mhm.
And after we had our initial meeting, the question was, will it be for free? And
Yes.
from there, moving on to receiving payments, to she then coming back for her second daughter. Also, I think that was an Arjun moment.
Yeah. Nothing comes for free. And I very recently read this quote that, if something is coming to you for free, know that you are the product. Uh, so, yeah, nothing comes for free. Absolutely. Akansha.
Just answering the Dronacharya question here, not right now, but of course, when I was, in my teaching state, as I had mentioned. So there I had the, moment of being a Dronacharya, where I had to nurture people. And then also adding to what Asavari said, it's very important to value yourself.
Hmm.
Sometimes when the concept of feast comes into the picture, right? Where like, take this much, you can adjust and everything. So it becomes how importantly you value the skill that you have. That no, this is what I know I deserve, and I'm not going to settle for less.
Brilliant.
So I
Brilliant.
think that is was a very important learning for me, that the world is not going to say that I'll give you this. You have to go and ask for it. Then no, I deserve this and I know it. I know my capabilities and I deserve this. And hence I'm asking for it. Otherwise I would not have asked. So having that understanding is very important about our own selves.
Very true. Very true. Very true. Lovely. Sujit.
So the Eklavya moment may not be right now, but at the very start of my career journey, when I reflect back right now, I think there was a moment where I may have become the Eklavya.
Mhm.
So I was in the organization and I was the only trainer there first. And I was taking care of the regional region completely. So I had that dream that I'll become the regional manager.
Hmm.
Okay, now this can be, me behaving as an Eklavya or, me being treated like Eklavya. I don't know. But what happened over a period of time after 2, 3 years, the company got another regional manager,
Yeah.
and my job still remained the same. There was nothing that changed. I was doing the same training now rather than reporting to the national manager. I was reporting to the regional manager.
Hmm.
And then I left because I felt there's now no scope in this organization. Then I left that organization. So I feel I was behaving like an Eklavya there, and maybe the company also treated me as an Eklavya.
Absolutely. Yeah. Had Ekalavya stood his ground and said, "Sorry, I'm not going to give you my thumb. You don't deserve it because you've not actually trained me," the story would have looked and felt very different. Yeah, when
Right.
Ekalavyas choose to stand their ground for what they think is right in that moment, different stories will be crafted. Absolutely. Any final words, thoughts, anything that comes to your mind as we wrap up this, dissection, literally dissection. I've learned so many perspectives of this story that I thought I'd done a good reading, but then even more perspectives came up, which was brilliant.
So when you have time, maybe read the Vaishnava's perspective through Dronacharya.
Okay.
That will give you another layer to the Eklavya story.
Vaishnava's perspective. Done.
Yes.
Will do. These
Maybe
are,
if there are sessions that is con holds a lot of sessions.
mm,
Maybe in one of those sessions, if you can ask those questions, they'll give you a perspective of why Dronacharya did that, because he's considered to be one of the Vaishnavas. He knew who Krishna was, so he was
yeah,
a devotee of Krishna. So just
In
thought.
fact,
Absolutely.
at the end, Krishna himself kills Ekalavya
Yeah.
because he was too advanced for that Mahabharata.
Mm.
yes.
Yeah, with that, we do come to the end. I would love for some feedback on what you've experienced today, how the session has been. Um, any thoughts, comments, verbal feedback, definitely welcome, but something to take away for me so that we can feel good about what happened today. I thoroughly enjoyed that. I can absolutely say today's was a very brilliant conversation.
So uh, for me, because I come from that thought of school where Uh, so like Dronacharya and the story, I don't feel like getting dissected in the stories of Mahabharata. So first thing to just be that uncomfortable, because वो barriers बहुत high थे कि यार हम क्यों ये stories में पढ़ रहे हैं, because
Correct.
there's a lot more what I've understood, because I fall आज एकादशी भी है ऊपर से.
Ah.
तो आज कहते हैं आज के दिन में ऐसी जो वैष्णव को या फिर इनको थोड़ा सा डिफेम करे, उन चीजों को नहीं सुनना चाहिए, उन चीजों को नहीं बोलना चाहिए, राइट? So that barrier was very high. But then a lot of perspective in terms when you get into the learner seat, getting perspective from everyone in the group, changing my shift every time. I was like, there's so much layer to a human behavior, or organization or a leadership. कितनी सारी चीजें हो सकती हैं.
Absolutely. And that is the intent of these sessions, Sujit, is to not uh, look at the characters. When I said, no, let us look at the
Yes, yes,
choices they made and not say Dronacharya was right or wrong, or Ekalavya was
right,
right or wrong,
right.
or Arjuna was right or wrong. It's about the possibility of choices that they could have made. Maybe it was relevant at that time, but today it may not render itself relevant. What other choices that we've not thought through? And I think we've uncovered so many possibilities through our conversation today, that so much is actually possible if Mahabharata was to happen again. um, and I think people would be far more accepting of a rebellion, far more accepting of a speaking up or challenging their own guru. I think it would be far more acceptable in today's world. I don't think it was even thought of in that age and era. Absolutely.
So there's a lot more perspective that came in, a fresh perspective, a lot more understanding that has came to this session. How do I apply it? I am right now not sure, but definitely I'll be using at least the story. I can use it now.
Wonderful.
Uh, my sections.
Anyone else? Any thoughts? Any comments before we close? I'm
Or
hoping all of
what you spoke, Shanti ma'am, that reminds me of uh, the the constant marketing fights that used to happen between Pepsi and Coke.
yeah,
One will say do something in response to it based on the similar theme, the other will do something else. So I feel that this thing this still happens, but at the end of the day, the audience who are looking at and enjoying those advertisements, still
yeah,
consuming those aerated drinks which are not very good for health. That time Diet Coke, Diet Pepsi was not even there. I don't know how good is that too, but we as an audience just watch. We don't question what are you selling. Even if you are fighting,
yeah,
we don't question all these uh, choices.
yeah. And the hope is that we start asking questions. What we do with the answers we get is still left to us, but at least we feel more powerful in terms of choices. I could have thought of it like this. I didn't see this perspective. At least it broadens our thinking. That's the intent. Thank you, Ishita.
So just one more feedback.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when the section started, there were a lot of lenses that you started bringing in,
Mm.
and at some point it went into the Mahabharata itself.
Yeah,
But then from there, the way you brought it back to the point, as a trainer, maybe that is what I perceive, that at some point you were also a bit वो एक क्वेश्चन आ गया था, अभी ये कहीं और जा रहा है, बट फ्रॉम देयर वेयर यू हैव again got it back to the main agenda where we started, the goal there where we started, understanding the leadership and the organization. That was very beautifully done. You holded the space such nicely that you again brought us back to the main agenda of the session. नहीं तो वो कैसा वो थोड़े टाइम के लिए had gone to that Mahabharat era. Also,
and topics like these, there is so much perspective that it has the potential to just become a whole day long discussion, will still not be done. Yeah.
yes, and also you also somewhere holded your perspective,
Hmm.
as a facilitator. Like as I said, ki if I have to put this story, I may be very biased towards looking from the Vaishnava perspective. But the way you holded those perspective also, that gave us a space to actually open up and speak. That's a very nice in terms of a facilitator that we do, giving that space to open up. That was very wonderful in this session.
Thank you so much. That gives me a high today. My high for today. Thank you.
This giving feedback I learned in my last session, so I have made sure I'll give feedback.
Thank you. Anyone else? If not, we can wrap up the session. Thank you so much for being here. It was a lovely conversation. I've learned a lot, and I'm hoping each one of you is taking back a little bit, that you will think, you will deliberate, and make informed choices that make you a better person and a leader. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you
Thank
for
you
the
so
session.
much.